So one of the most undersung features of Cocoon is the ability to add custom jingles to when you hover over your games. You can play a little jingle or a theme tune. And it wasn't something I really looked into much, but I've found, or rather Jug in my Discord has found a good quality repo with an absolute ton of jingles. So here is how to use it on the AYN Thor. So this is the GitHub repo that I'll be using. So I'll leave a link to this in the description, because if you click here into this jingles folder, you get a lovely list of all the available jingles split by system. So there's absolutely loads in here. There's also this little missing jingles markdown file, which I think it's what people have requested. I'm not too sure where people are actually raising these requests, but I think if there's anything missing, then you can just contact the dev, who's Rayan7BE. Rayan7B. Apologies, I'm not too sure how to pronounce that. So whilst I'll leave the link to this full repo in the description, you don't actually need the full link. You just need the person's username and the name of the repo itself. So let's flip over to the Thor and I'll show you how to set it up. Okie dokie, so here we are on the Thor. So I've not currently got any music playing. I best make sure the sound's turned up actually, or that'll be very embarrassing. So if I go over to my settings menu and I come over to personalization and then down to jingles, so you can see here I don't currently have any jingles. There is an example repository there that you can use to fork it if you want to create your own, and you just point it at that. However, if you're someone like me who just wants to kind of test this out and have a play around, then this is the best repository that I've found. At least it's been suggested to me again by Jug. So in order to add it, we're going to press our Y button, or just tap the little plus sign at the very top. So like I mentioned a moment ago, we only need to provide the repository owner, which in this case is Rayan7B. I don't believe it's case sensitive, but just to be sure. And then ultimate-jingles is the repository name. So we're going to add that. So you can see it pre-populates the URL there. And then all we need to do, you can adjust some settings here. If you've got long jingles, you can fade them out. You can normalize the volume so you don't have to keep turning them up and down if some are louder than others. You can set a global default. You can set a global default if there's a particular game jingle that you'd want to kind of persist across all. I don't really know why you'd use that feature. You can also have per platform defaults, which I suppose you could use for something like maybe the Sega jingle, which would be quite cool. Now, unfortunately, this isn't an automatic process like it is when you're scraping your artwork. It is still very manual. Hopefully, in a future update, there'll be some sort of way to automatically extract a jingle, but for now, it's all totally manual. So if we go to PlayStation, and you can see I've got Metal Gear Solid highlighted. Now if I pause for a second, nothing's playing. If I press my Y button and come down to edit, and then if I go down to the jingle section, when I select here, now for some reason, this is a bug. I'm on version 3.0. I know we said 2.1 again. It seems to have tried to select the game logo, so I don't really know what's happening there. But if I just tap the little GitHub icon, the little cat in a circle, you'll see it's obviously done a fuzzy search across all things Metal Gear, so you can just quickly play through. So there's that one, the original. There's the VR mission one. There's a couple of different versions of the PS1 one. There's an MP3 mod. That's like a kind of remix on that one. I think we'll stay with the good old original PS1 version, so I'm just going to tap save. And then you'll see that the jingle is set. And then all I need to do is press my Y button just to confirm. And you can see that when I hover over the game, you can hear that the jingle is playing. So, unfortunately, very manual. Not a feature that I'll be using a lot of. I've just noticed the background music's applied because I've done a fresh install. I don't really like having music on my front ends, but I do quite like the jingles. So hopefully, in a future update, slightly less manual. As always, if you like this video, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. If there's anything that you'd like me to make a video about, then please do drop by my Discord. There's a link below in the description. Have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.